Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Noose with Tim Lynch. I'm Tim Lynch. So, we're going back to Rhode Island. It is a great but tough state. If you ever, aside from going there, if you ever want to kind of get a true feeling for what Rhode Island's like, especially Providence, Rhode Island, go watch. There's an episode of Sopranos, season 4, episode 4, The Wait, where I think Tony and Christopher go to Providence because they're trying to hire some hitmen to take out Johnny Sack. And boy, let me tell you, they nailed Providence. It is spooky. And by spooky, I mean spooky, but spot on. So check that out. You'll get a bit of feel for Rhode Island. But before we get into today's topic, remember to hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave a comment, especially if you don't agree, either with me or someone else who's leaving a comment. Let's get it going. Anyway, let's get to the task at hand. So about 2 months after that tragic shooting at Brown University, there was another shooting. This one was February 16th, 2026, in Pawtucket, Rhode Island at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena. No relation. So at that time, the way I kind of first learned about it, so that was, again, it's a hockey rink. There was a high school hockey game going on. And the way I learned about it is one of my friends from Brown texted me and another friend from Brown, who all of us are big hockey guys as well. And he texted this post from Twitter, now known as X, never known as Prince. And I'll read it to you. So this was from Eric Doherty at Eric L. Daw on X. And it said, breaking, a terrifying shooting just happened at a skating rink in Pawtucket, Rhode Island at a high school boys hockey game. Chilling footage captures the moment it began. One young female victim killed. Suspect is also dead. Pray for all the families. And I am going to show you the video. The video is not, you don't really see anything per se. You can hear the shots ring out right at the beginning of the video. So if you miss it, just rewind it and watch it again. And it really is horrifying. If you kind of put yourself there and really kind of appreciate the horrible act that's going on, it's a horrible video. But so that being said, if you haven't seen it, I think you should watch it. So here you go. So when I watched that, I texted back to the chain, and I thought my response was appropriate. I said, Jesus Christ. And then the other recipient, because again, there's 3 of us, the one that sent the initial post, and then the 2 of us. And the other recipient said, and I'll put it up here, he said, that's really terrifying, which it was. I'm guessing it's a parent pissed at the coach over playing time or at an opposing player for a dirty hit. And I thought, it just, I know it's a hockey game, but just because something's at a hockey game doesn't mean it was hockey-based. Not that it couldn't be wrong, but at that time, it just happened. No one knew what was going on, so I just gave my theory, and I show you what I wrote. And it said, grammatically poorly, "It's really is," actually meant to write "it really is," meaning it really is terrifying. I was guessing disgruntled dad killing wife that left him and everyone around her. Because that's what these shootings typically are. They're usually domestic disputes, something like this. I'm not saying, into a school, but when you're at a family gathering, they're usually domestic dispute issues. That's what history shows us. That's what psychology tells us. My first thought is I don't really know anyone outside of maybe Colombia, the country, that no one ever really killed someone because of a bad call or even several bad calls, or because their kid's getting benched. And even then, wouldn't you kill the ref or kill the coach? I mean, this is just something in the crowd. I mean, it could happen, but it's just not the pattern. It's just not something you typically see. So I just went with what you usually see. I went with the odds. And I thought to myself, why did my other friend think that was the case? And it seems a little concrete. Sorry, man. Because he wasn't really thinking about the act. If he was thinking about the act, I think he would have come up with a better hypothesis. I think he was just looking at what was on the scene. And what was on the scene was, hockey players, hockey coaches, hockey referees. And I started to think, and this is why I brought this up today, is that's the kind of thought that leads to, I mean, it is a bad thought. It doesn't lead to bad thoughts. It just creates bad thoughts, and then you act on bad thoughts, which helps nobody. But this is the kind of thought that makes liberals want to get rid of guns. Again, it's concrete thinking at best. They see someone shot, and they think, well, get rid of the gun. You can't get shot if you get rid of the gun. You can get killed without a gun, though, but that's, we'll get on to that. So again, to be redundant, to quote a wise man, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Again, as a kid, I always thought that was really funny. Haha, I'm so smart. I'm, see how dumb a redneck is or white trash is, all these gun people. I mean, I know technically it was true, but it was dumb. It was dumb thinking. Now I realize, no, that's actually the correct thinking. It's just so obvious. People shoot people. Guns don't shoot people. People shoot people. People stab people. People beat each other to death with Louisville sluggers. Muslims run over Germans in cars at Christmas. People kill people. A gun is just a tool. If we didn't have guns, we'd still have all the deaths. It would just be for a different reason. We'd be like England and China trying to ban knives now. I mean, even in the U.S., and this still blows my mind, you can be a licensed concealed carry or even open carry person who can carry a gun legally. But that same person in the exact same state can't carry a certain knife. I mean, how crazy is that? It's backwards. It's only because we have the Second Amendment that allows us to carry those firearms to protect ourselves. Because let me just look at Europe and all these other countries, without that Second Amendment, the liberals would have banned all the guns. Again, they'll say, oh, no, not all guns. We recognize the right to bear arms. No, they don't, or they're lying. Usually they're just lying. They'll say, we just don't want, guns like AR-15s. It's like, no, that's just because it's at the top of their propaganda list. Once you get rid of that, then they go to the next gun on the propaganda list, like a Glock, and then they go to the next gun on the propaganda list. They don't know. And so what happens when you get rid of all the guns? Well, the stronger people, men, would rule by more brute force. Because weaker people, weaker men, women, they can't physically get into a combative fight. That's what's great about guns. They're the great equalizer. A fairly weak old woman can kill a very strong young man. And isn't that what we want? Isn't that what they want? Isn't that what everybody wants? Equality? Safety? But here's the one thing I also want to talk about. The one thing I didn't put in that text and came oh so close, but I didn't. When I wrote that it's probably a disgruntled dad killing his wife and family, I almost wrote, and he's probably transgender. Now you may be thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Well, again, if you look at the pattern, a lot of the transgender shooters recently, a lot of the mass shooters recently have been transgendered. It's sadly actually common. Now, I didn't type it out because my thought was, you don't really see the transgenders as a big part of a hockey community. Although, frankly, if I took another second, I would have said, well, you don't really see shooters as part of the hockey community either. So, but regardless, while it was my thought process, I didn't have the balls to put it down and put money on the table on it. But guess who the shooter was? Roberta Dorgano, or Dorgano, I guess. Yeah, Roberta Dorgano. His real name is Robert. Robert was a transgender woman, editor's note, that's not a real woman, who came in to that rink and he shot and killed his ex-wife Rhonda and his son Aiden, and he shot his father-in-law Gerald, who died a couple of weeks later. So killed 3 people. In the struggle, while he was shooting people, one guy managed to get in and hold his gun, which blocked the slide so you couldn't reload. And while he was doing that, more people jumped in and they were trying to get him in a headlock. Despite that, he actually still managed to get a hand onto a second gun, but fortunately put it in his mouth and pulled the trigger and killed himself. But here's another interesting thing, because while I gave you the list of the names of the people he killed and the relation, if you look this up on Wikipedia, at least as it stands today, in July of 2026, this is the way it read. 3 people were killed and 2 critically injured. All but 1 were related to the shooter. The deceased were Dorgano's son, Aiden Dorgan, which I assume was Dorgano, her ex-wife, Rhonda Dorgan, and her father-in-law, Gerald Dorgan. Gerald died 2 weeks after the shooting. And I was trying to put this together because I was like, wait, okay, I know what they're doing because I've been through this rabbit hole before where Wikipedia or any of these entities are so concerned about not offending a murderer that they use the pronouns they wanted instead of just using the truth. And all that does is create confusion. Because I get Dorgano's son, fine. His ex-wife, Rhonda Dorgan, at which point at least I knew ex-wife Rhonda, fine. I could follow their crazy thinking. And her father-in-law, Gerald Dorgan, and then I got like, wait a minute, her father-in-law. So her father-in-law would be his father, right? Because Gerald Dorgan's his last name. And her father, which would be his father-in-law, should have a different last name. Because I doubt when she married him and took his last name that she made her father take his last name too. So finally, obviously, went and verified it that Wikipedia is a disaster. But again, it took me to figure out because, again, God forbid Wiki use the right pronouns when referencing a murderer. He was not a woman. He was a sick man. Let's call a spade a spade. It's another tragic shooting. And you know what? Rhode Island's strict gun laws didn't help. In fact, may have hurt it, right? So perhaps if it was easier to carry a weapon, you had more universal gun usage, maybe that would have limited the deaths. Instead of 3, maybe there will only be 1 or 2. Or maybe prevented them entirely, right? Maybe his wife could have carried. Although I'm sure you've all heard the stories of a woman who is threatened by a former partner, and the most they can get is a, cease and desist letter or, whatever they call those, where people can't come by near you. Brain fart. Anyway, or maybe bystanders could have carried. Maybe if every good guy carried, then every bad guy would be much less likely to even start or try something. So that didn't help. And speaking of the left's policy of gender-affirming care clearly didn't help, right? Perhaps if he were treated for his mental illness early, none of this would have gone near this direction. I mean, let me just give you an analogy. So, he comes into his doctor and says, I'm a woman, doc. And he goes, yeah, you're right, you are. Your balls are showing out of your shorts. But you're right, you are. That's insane. If a 76-pound woman goes to see her doctor and says, Doctor, I'm too fat, the doctor doesn't go, yeah, you are, fatty. Tread lightly on the grass so you don't break any of the blades. They say, you have a problem. You need mental health help, and we need to help you. But they don't do that. They just say whatever you want, and that's your truth. And look what it leads to. That's why when people say, well, why do you care what people call themselves or how they refer to themselves or how they want to dress? Why do I care? Because it's likely a problem you're ignoring. And it can hurt themselves. It can hurt the people around them. That's why we care. Don't give me this crap about transphobia. It's like, oh, you don't like it when someone dresses the other way. It's like, no, I don't like it if you ignore why they're dressing the other way. But let's learn from all of this. It is a horrible event. Don't look at the concrete surface problem. Look at the deeper problem. People who are homicidal, suicidal, it runs from deep issues. And if we don't know the history, if we don't know the truth behind it, and we don't meet the truth about it, we'll never get better. Let's get better, shall we? And I'll see you next time on the Daily Noose.